Nathan Pierce had everything a man could dream of: money, power, respect. But that night, sitting alone in the top floor office of Pierce Global, he felt like he was losing control of it all. The city lights below his glass window looked beautiful, yet empty, just like his life. His company was facing its worst crisis in 10 years. Deals were failing. Investors were nervous. His senior managers kept giving him long reports filled with big words and no real solutions. Nathan rubbed his tired eyes and stood up, loosening his tie. It was past midnight. Everyone had gone home. Everyone, except the cleaning staff. As he walked toward the conference room to grab his forgotten phone, he noticed something strange that made him stop cold. The large whiteboard, which had been blank when the meeting ended, was now filled with writing, clear and confident. Nathan's heartbeat slowed as his eyes moved across the board. These were not random thoughts. These were solutions, real ones. Clear steps, cost cuts, market shifts, risk control. Ideas so sharp they made his managers look careless. His breath caught in his throat. "Who wrote this?" he whispered to the empty room. He stepped closer, reading every line carefully. Whoever wrote these notes understood his company better than most people on his board. Nathan felt anger. First, someone had entered a private space, then confusion, then something else. Curiosity mixed with shock. He checked the clock. 12:43 a.m. Only one group was allowed here at this hour. The cleaning staff. Hidden behind the glass wall, Nathan saw a small figure moving quietly between desks, wiping tables with slow, careful hands. It was a woman. She wore a simple uniform, her hair tied back neatly. She worked like she wanted to disappear into the walls. Nathan had seen her before, but never really noticed her. No one did. She was just another cleaner. Or so he thought. As if feeling watched, the woman glanced up. Their eyes met for one brief second. Her face strained of color. Fear flashed across her eyes like she had been caught stealing something far worse than time. She turned away quickly and lowered her head. Nathan's heart started beating fast. Was it her? He wondered. Impossible. Or was it? He stepped back into the shadows, watching. She finished cleaning, placed her tools quietly in the cart, and before leaving, she looked at the whiteboard one last time. Her eyes lingered on the notes not with pride, but with sadness. Then she erased nothing and walked out. Nathan stood frozen. The silence felt heavy. His phone buzzed in his hand, forgotten. That woman was Hannah Moore, and she had no idea her life was about to change forever. Hannah had learned long ago how to stay invisible. When you are poor, when you have nothing, being unseen keeps you safe. She walked through the marble halls of Pierce Global every night like a shadow, cleaning the floors that rich shoes walked on during the day. No one knew she listened. No one knew she understood. And no one knew that inside her worn bag, between old gloves and a water bottle, she carried a small notebook filled with ideas she could never speak out loud. Hannah wasn't always a cleaning lady. Once she was a top student. When she dreamed of boardrooms, not mops. But dreams cost money, and she had run out of that years ago. Life had taught her a cruel lesson. Intelligence without power means nothing. So she stayed silent. But some nights, when the problems on the whiteboard screamed for answers, her hands moved on their own. Writing was the only way she could breathe. Nathan did not sleep that night. The notes haunted him. At home, he reopened the company files and tested every idea written on the board. One by one, they worked perfectly. His mind raced. If this was a joke, it was a genius one. By morning, one question burned in him. Who is Hannah Moore? The next night, Nathan did something he had never done before. He stayed hidden and waited. He left a new problem on the board one his managers had failed to solve. It was a test. If the cleaner wrote again, he would know the truth. Hannah arrived at work, unaware of the trap waiting for her. She pushed her cart quietly, her shoulders tired from a long day. As she entered the conference room, she froze. The board was filled again, but this time with a fresh problem. Her heart began to pound. She knew this case. She had read about similar situations years ago. The solution formed in her mind like a reflex. She looked around nervously. No one was there. Her hand shook. Just this once, she whispered to herself. Just to help. She picked up the marker and began to write. From the shadows, Nathan Pierce watched as a cleaning lady turned into a strategist. Her movements were calm. Her thinking was fast. She erased mistakes, corrected them, improved ideas in seconds. Nathan felt something break inside him, not anger, not pride, but awe. This woman was not ordinary. This woman was wasted brilliance. Suddenly, a sound echoed in the hall. Hannah jumped, dropping the marker. She turned and saw Nathan stepping into the light. His face was unreadable. Her world collapsed in that moment. She knew what came next. Fired, humiliated, thrown out like trash. Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to cry in front of him. "I'm sorry," she said softly, her voice shaking. "I won't do it again. Please don't report me." Nathan didn't answer right away. He looked at the board, then at her, then back at the board. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm but heavy. "You solved a problem my executives couldn't," he said. "Who are you?" "Hannah Moore." Hannah swallowed hard. She looked down at her hands, rough from work, ink-stained from ideas she was never allowed to share. "I'm just a cleaner." "Sir," she replied. Nathan took a step closer. "No," he said quietly. "You are not." And in that moment, two lonely lives crossed paths, one built on power, the other on silence, setting off a story of love, pain, betrayal, and respect that neither of them was ready for. Hannah stood frozen in front of Nathan Pierce. The marker lay on the floor between them like proof of a crime. Her heart was beating so fast she thought he could hear it. She waited for him to shout, to call security, to tell her she had crossed a line that poor people were never allowed to cross. But Nathan did none of that. He simply looked at Huriel for the first time. She was not confident. She was not proud. She looked scared, tired, and painfully small inside a room that once belonged only to powerful men. Nathan cleared his throat. "Sit down," he said calmly, pointing to a chair. Hannah shook her head quickly. "No, sir. I should go. I've work to finish." Her voice was low, almost breaking. Nathan noticed how she kept her hands close to her body, like she was protecting herself from the world. "This is work," he replied. "Sit." His tone was firm, but not angry. Slowly, Hannah sat. The chair felt too big, too important for someone like her. Nathan stayed standing. "You understand our business problem better than my senior team?" he said. "I want to know why." Hannah stared at the floor. Silence filled the room. Seconds passed, then minutes. Nathan felt irritation rise, but he pushed it down. He had learned patience in business. "I won't fire you," he said suddenly. Hannah's head snapped up. Her eyes were full of disbelief. "You won't?" she asked softly. "Not tonight," Nathan replied. "But you will answer my questions." Hannah's chest felt tight. She had spent years hiding. Speaking now felt dangerous. "I read," she said after a long pause. "I listen in meetings while I clean. I remember things." Nathan frowned. "That doesn't explain this level of thinking," he said, tapping the board. "This is trained thinking." Hannah's lips trembled. "I used to study," she admitted, "a long time ago." That was all she said. Nathan wanted more, but he could see the pain behind her eyes. Pushing her too hard would break her. He nodded slowly. "Go home," he said. "Tomorrow, come early." Before cleaning hours, Hannah stood quickly. "Why?" she asked. Nathan looked at her straight in the eyes. "'Cause I want to test you." That night, Hannah did not sleep. Fear followed her into her small rented room. What if this was a trick? Rich people did not help people like her. They tested them, used them, then crushed them. She considered not going back. But deep inside, a small voice whispered that this might be the only chance she would ever get. At dawn, she washed her face, wore her cleanest clothes under her uniform, and went to Pierce Global. Nathan was already waiting. He had placed files neatly on the table. "You have 2 hours," he said. "Solve this." Hannah sat slowly. Her hands shook as she opened the file. It was complex, real, not fake. Her mind switched on without permission. She forgot where she was, forgot who he was. She read, thought, wrote. Nathan watched quietly. He saw her confidence grow as she worked. When the time was up, she slid the file back. Nathan reviewed it carefully. His breath caught. It was brilliant, but better than anything his team had produced in weeks. In that moment, Nathan Pierce made a decision that would shake his entire company. "You're coming to the executive meeting today," he said. Hannah's blood ran cold. "No," she whispered. "They will laugh at me." Nathan leaned forward. "Let them," he said. "I won't." For the first time, Hannah saw something human in him. Not a CEO, a man who also stood alone at the top. The meeting room was full of power and sharp suits. The managers stopped talking when Hannah entered behind Nathan. Whispers filled the air. "Who is she? Is this a joke?" Nathan took his seat. "This is Hannah Moore," he said clearly. "She will speak today." Laughter followed. One manager, Derek Fulton, smirked. "The cleaning staff is now part of strategy?" he asked. Nathan's eyes hardened. "Yes," he replied. Hannah's hands trembled, but she stood. Her voice was soft at first, then steady. She explained the plan. The room went silent. Questions came. She answered all of them. One by one, faces changed. When she finished, Nathan stood. Meeting over, he said, "We move forward with her plan." After the room cleared, Hannah felt weak. She expected Nathan to congratulate her. Instead, he said something unexpected. "This won't be easy," he warned. They will try to break you. Hannah nodded. They already have, she replied quietly. That evening, Hannah returned to her cleaning duties. But everything felt different. People watched her now. Some with curiosity. Some with anger. Derek Fulton watched with pure hate. He felt threatened. Nobody had stepped into his world, and he would not allow it. Alone in his office, Derek smiled coldly. Let's see how smart you really are, he muttered. Nathan stayed late again. He found Hannah cleaning near his office. Why didn't you ever apply for a job here? He asked. Hannah paused. Because people don't see cleaners, she said simply. Nathan felt those words hit deeper than any insult. He realized how blind he had been. As she walked away, Nathan watched her like he had never watched anyone before. Not as a boss, not as a rich man, but as someone slowly falling in love with a mind that had been hidden for too long. Far away, Hannah sat alone on her bed, staring at her old notebook. For the first time in years, she smiled. She didn't know it yet. Love, danger, and betrayal were already moving toward her. The next morning at Pierce Global felt different for Hannah Moore. The building was the same tall glass walls, shining floors, quiet power, but the air around her had changed. People looked at her now. Some looked surprised. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. Hannah felt all those eyes on her as she pushed her cleaning cart down the long hallway. Her hands felt heavy. Her heart felt tired. Before, she had been invisible. Now, she was exposed. Nathan Pierce stood in his office, watching her through the glass wall. He told himself he was only observing how the team treated her. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He was worried about her. He had put her in danger, without asking if she was ready. For years, he had fought business wars without emotion. But this was different. Hannah was not trained for this world. And yet, she was stronger than most people he knew. Later that morning, Nathan called her to his office. Hannah walked in slowly, her shoulders stiff. Sit, Nathan said gently. She obeyed. From today, he continued, you will work with the strategy team. Half day only. You can keep your cleaning job until things settle. Hannah's eyes widened. Sir, people won't like that. Nathan nodded. They already don't. That's not your problem. Hannah hesitated. Why are you doing this for me? She asked quietly. Nathan paused. The answer was simple but dangerous. Because I respect you. Because I see you. Because I can't stop thinking about you. Instead, he said, because talent should not be wasted. Hannah nodded, but her heart felt warm. No one had spoken about her talent in years. When Hannah entered the strategy department, the room went silent. Keyboards stopped. Conversations died. Derek Fulton leaned back in his chair, smiling without warmth. Looks like our cleaner got promoted, he said loudly. Laughter followed. Hannah's face burned. She wanted to disappear, but then she remembered her father's words from long ago. Lower your head only when you pray, not when people try to break you. She lifted her chin and walked to the empty desk Nathan had prepared for her. The first task was small, but Derek made sure it felt impossible. He gave her wrong data, missing files, and tight deadlines. He wanted her to fail. Hannah worked quietly, checking everything twice. She stayed late, skipped lunch, and focused. When the report was presented, it was flawless. Derek's smile faded. Nathan noticed everything. Days passed. Hannah proved herself again and again. Slowly, some team members began to respect her. Others still hated her. Nathan watched how she handled pressure, with silence, not pride. That impressed him more than her intelligence. One evening, Nathan found Hannah alone in the break room, eating a simple sandwich. You should take breaks, he said. Hannah smiled weakly. I'm used to not taking them. Nathan sat across from her. That was new. CEOs did not sit with cleaner, stern analysts. You shouldn't be, he replied. There was a long pause. The room felt small. Did you ever wonder what would have happened if life was kinder too? You? He asked. Hannah looked at her hands. Life wasn't kind, she said softly, but it taught me how to survive. Nathan felt a strange pain in his chest. He had been born into comfort. He had earned success, yes, but Hannah had earned strength. That night, something shifted between them. Not love yet, but deep respect. Outside that room, Derek watched through the glass. His jaw tightened. Nathan Pierce never sat with employees like that, especially not with her. Jealousy twisted inside him like poison. He made a call. It's time, he said. We moved forward. Meanwhile, Hannah struggled with something new. Hope was dangerous. Hope reminded her of dreams she had buried. She started writing again, not on boards, but in her notebook at home. Ideas, plans, and thoughts about Nathan she tried to ignore. He was kind, but he was still her boss. A rich man from a world that had never welcomed her. Nathan struggled too. He told himself it was admiration, nothing more. But he found excuses to see her, to ask her opinions, to hear her voice. He noticed small things, how she frowned when thinking, how she listened more than she spoke, how she smiled when she felt safe. He hadn't felt this way in years. The company announced a major investor presentation. It was crucial. Failure would destroy trust. Nathan chose Hannah to help prepare it. Derek smiled politely, but inside, he was furious. He made his move quietly. Files disappeared. Numbers were changed. Emails were altered. All signs pointed to Hannah. The night before the presentation, Hannah stayed late to double-check everything. She felt something was wrong. Her instincts screamed danger. She saved copies of her work, just in case. When she left, Derek entered the office and planted false evidence. He watched the screen with satisfaction. "Let's see how long your hero protects you," he whispered. The next morning, chaos exploded. Reports showed errors. Investors were angry. Fingers pointed quickly. "It was Hannah's work," Derek said calmly. "She handled these files." The room turned cold. Hannah stood frozen. "I didn't do this," she said softly. Nathan looked at the data. Doubt flickered in his eyes, not because he didn't trust her, but because the evidence was strong. That look broke her heart. "I can explain," Hannah whispered. Nathan raised his hand. "Meeting adjourned," he said sharply. He turned to her. "My office?" Now, as she followed him, whispers followed too. Her old fear returned. This was the moment she had always known would come. Poor people are allowed to rise only so far. Inside his office, Nathan closed the door. Silence filled the room. "Tell me the truth," he said. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "I swear, I didn't do this," she said. "Someone changed the files." Nathan wanted to believe her, but pressure weighed on him. Investors demanded answers. The board watched closely. "Need time?" he said finally. "Go home." Hannah nodded slowly. She walked out with her head high, but inside, she was breaking. That night, she cried silently, clutching her notebook. Hope had betrayed her. Nathan stayed late again, replaying everything in his mind. Something didn't feel right. Hannah was careful, too careful. He checked security logs, files, emails. Slowly, the truth began to show cracks. And one name kept appearing in the shadows, Dirk Fulton. As the city slept, Nathan Pierce realized two things at once. Someone was trying to destroy Hannah, and he cared far more about her than he had ever planned. Far away, Hannah packed her small bag. If this ended badly, she would leave before being humiliated again. She had survived worse. But this time, losing Nathan's trust hurt more than losing the job. The battle lines were drawn. Love was growing quietly, and betrayal was about to explode. The next morning felt heavier than any day Hannah Moore had ever lived. She woke up before sunrise, staring at the cracked ceiling of her small room. Her bag sat near the door, half-packed. She had not slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Nathan Pierce's face, not angry, not cruel, but uncertain. That hurt more than shouting ever could. She dressed slowly and went to work anyway. Running away had always been her habit. But this time, she wanted to face whatever came next with dignity. At Pierce Global, tension filled the air. People whispered. In corners, emails flew between departments. The failed investor presentation had shaken the company. The board demanded answers. And one name sat quietly at the center of the storm: Hannah Moore. Nathan Pierce stood in his office, staring at the city outside. He had not slept either. All night, he had reviewed files, security footage, access logs. The more he looked, the clearer it became. Hannah had been framed, and the truth pointed directly toward Derek Fulton. Nathan felt anger rise in him, not just because of betrayal, but because he had allowed doubt to touch his trust in Hannah. That single moment of hesitation replayed in his mind again and again at 9 a.m. Nathan called an emergency executive meeting. Hannah was asked to attend. When she entered the boardroom, every conversation stopped. Eyes followed her. Some were curious, some were judgmental, some were cold. Derek Fulton sat calmly, his face relaxed, like a man with nothing to hide. Hannah took a seat at the far end of the table. She kept her hands folded, her back straight. Inside, she was terrified. She reminded herself of one thing: no matter what happened, she would not beg. Nathan entered last. The room stood in respect. "Sit," he said. He did not look at Hannah. At first, that made her heart sink. Derek smiled faintly. Nathan placed a folder on the table. "We are here to talk about responsibility," Nathan began. His voice was calm, controlled. In truth, he looked directly at Derek. "Last week's presentation failure was not caused by incompetence," Nathan continued. "It was caused by manipulation." Murmurs filled the room. Derek's smile stiffened. What are you suggesting? He asked smoothly. Nathan opened the folder and slid documents across the table. Access logs, timestamps, file history, security footage. His eyes hardened. You changed the data. You planted false evidence. And you blamed Hannah Moore. The room went silent. Hannah's breath caught in her throat. She looked up slowly, disbelief and relief crashing together inside her chest. Derek laughed nervously. This is ridiculous. You're protecting her because she's innocent, Nathan cut in sharply. He turned toward the board members. Ms. Moore saved this company millions with her ideas. She worked with honesty and care. And while she was doing that, someone here tried to destroy her because they felt threatened. Nathan stood. I allowed disrespect in this company, he said. That ends today. He looked at Hannah then. Ms. Moore, he said clearly, I owe you an apology. I should have trusted you fully. I didn't. That was my failure. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. She did not speak. She simply nodded. Nathan turned back to Derek. You are suspended, effective immediately. An internal investigation will follow. Derek's face went pale. You can't do this, he snapped. She's just enough, Nathan said. Coldly. Security escorted Derek out. The room sat in stunned silence. Nathan looked at everyone present. Let me be clear, he said. Talent does not have a title. Intelligence does not wear expensive clothes. And respect is not optional. He ended the meeting. As people left, many avoided Hannah's eyes. Some nodded quietly in respect. Others looked ashamed. Hannah remained seated, frozen. Nathan approached her slowly. Are you okay? He asked softly. She stood up. Her voice shook. I thought you didn't believe me. Nathan swallowed. For one moment, I hesitated, he admitted. And I will regret that moment for the rest of my life. Those words broke the last wall inside her. Tears fell freely. She turned away, embarrassed. Nathan handed her a handkerchief. You have to be strong all the time, he said. For the first time, Hannah felt truly seen. Later that day, Nathan made another decision that shocked the company. He officially promoted Hannah Moore to strategic associate. Full-time. The announcement caused waves. Sim praised it. Sim hated it, but no one dared to challenge it openly. Nathan invited Hannah to lunch not in the executive dining room, but outside the building at a small cafe. Hannah hesitated. People will talk. They already do. Nathan replied gently. Let them. Over simple food, they spoke not as boss and employee, but as two tired humans. You could have destroyed me, Hannah said quietly. Rich people usually do. Nathan looked at her seriously. I don't want to be that kind of man. She studied him. Why do you care so much? She asked. Nathan took a breath. This time he didn't hide. Because you remind me of something I lost, he said. Truth, purpose, and maybe, myself. Silence followed, comfortable and dangerous. That evening, Hannah returned to her room with a strange feeling in her chest. Hope, but stronger than before. Still fragile. Still scary. Nathan stayed late again, thinking about her words, her strength, her quiet courage. Love was no longer a question. It was a fact he was trying to control. But the world was not done testing them. Derek Fulton was gone, but his damage was not finished. Rumors began spreading outside the company. Blogs questioned Hannah's rise. Old colleagues whispered about favoritism, and in the shadows. Someone else watched closely. Someone connected to Nathan's past. Someone who did not like seeing him. Change. Hannah stood at her window that night, looking at the city lights. She had survived humiliation. She had tasted respect. And now, she stood at the edge of something more dangerous than poverty or shame. Love. The storm did not come loudly. It came quietly. At first, Hannah Moore did not notice it. She was busy adjusting to her new role. New desk, new title, new responsibilities. But the world around her was changing in ways she could not see yet. Online, articles began to appear. CEO's favorite. From cleaner to strategist, overnight talent or special treatment. Hannah read the headlines late at night on her phone, her hands shaking. Each word felt like a slap. People did not talk about her ideas. They talked about her past, her clothes, her position, and worst of all, her closeness to Nathan Pierce. Inside Pierce Global, the air grew cold again. Some employees stopped greeting. Heard meetings became uncomfortable. Ideas she suggested were questioned more harshly than before. Hannah felt like she was on trial every single day. Nathan noticed. He confronted the board. This ends now, he said firmly. She earned her place. But the board was nervous. Investors were nervous. One member spoke carefully. Nathan, your decisions are becoming emotional. That word emotional followed him everywhere. Nathan had built his life on control. Now, for the first time, his heart was affecting his empire. Hannah felt guilty. One evening, she waited outside Nathan's office. When he came out, tired and frustrated, She spoke before fear could stop her. Think I should leave? She said quietly. Nathan froze. What? I don't want to be the reason your company suffers, Hannah continued. They will never stop blaming me. Nathan's voice rose slightly. You are not the problem. But I am the excuse, she replied. Silence stretched. Between them, Nature wanted to say, I need you. You wanted to say, I love you. But he saw the pain in her eyes. And for the first time, he realized loving him was hurting her. Let me fix this, he said, and Hannah shook her head. Some things can't be fixed by power. That night, Hannah went home and cried harder than she ever had before. Not because she was poor, not because she was insulted, but because she was in love with a man she might have to walk away from. The next day, something worse happened. An anonymous complaint was filed. It accused Hannah of leaking company ideas. 2 competitors. It was false. But this time, the pressure was too heavy. The board demanded action. Investors threatened to pull out. The media was waiting. Nathan was forced to choose. He called Hannah into his office. She knew before he spoke. I'm placing you on temporary leave, he said quietly. Until the investigation ends. Hannah nodded slowly. She had expected this. Still, her chest hurt like it was breaking open. I understand, she said. Nathan stood, his fists clenched. This is not goodbye. Hannah looked at him. Really looked at him. Sometimes, she said softly, goodbye doesn't need words. She turned and walked out. That was the last time she entered. Pierce Global. Days passed. Then weeks. Hannah disappeared. She changed her number. She left her room. She took only her notebook and a small bag. She went back to the part of the city where people didn't ask questions and dreams were allowed to die quietly. She found work teaching basic math to poor children in a small community center. No titles, no suits, just chalk, broken chairs, and curious eyes. For the first time in weeks, she felt calm. Nathan, on the other hand, was falling apart. The investigation proved Hannah's innocence again, but the damage was done. The board praised his leadership but warned him clearly. One more scandal, and you lose everything. Nathan stared at the empty chair across from him in meetings. The place Hannah used to sit. Her quiet presence haunted him more than the noise ever had. He tried calling her. No answer. He sent messages. Nothing. For the first time in his life, Nathan Pierce felt powerless. Love had become the one thing money could not buy. One night, alone, in his office, Nathan opened the old WHITE, BOARD. It was clean. No notes. No ideas. Just empty space. And in that emptiness, he understood the truth. Hannah had not just saved his company. She had changed him, and now, he might have lost her forever. Far away. Hannah stood outside the small classroom, watching children laugh. She pressed her notebook to her chest. She had chosen peace over love. But the heart does not forget, so as silly the world had pulled them apart. The fate was not finished yet. Time changed many things, but it did not change Nathan Pierce's heart. 3 months had passed since Hannah Moore disappeared from his life. Pierce Global was stable again. The investigation was closed. The board was calm. Investors trusted him once more. On paper, Nathan had won. But every night, when the city lights came on outside his office window, he felt the same emptiness. He worked longer hours now, not because he had to, but because going home felt pointless. His apartment was quiet. Too quiet. No soft voice. No thoughtful questions. No gentle strength sitting across from him, challenging his ideas without trying to impress anyone. Nathan often stood in the conference room alone, staring at the WHITEBOARD. Clean, silent, empty. He remembered the first night he had seen those notes. How shocked he had been. How alive he had felt. That board had not just shown him answers, it had shown him Hannah, then he had let her walk away. One evening, Nathan made a decision. For the first time in his career, he stepped away from the company for a week. No meetings, no board calls, no assistants. Just him and a question he could no longer avoid. What kind of man do I want to be when power is no longer watching? Hannah Moore's life had become smaller but lighter. She lived in a modest room near the community center. Every morning, she walked through narrow streets filled with noise, life, and struggle. Children waited for her with wide smiles and messy notebooks. They did not care who she used to be. They cared that she listened. She taught them numbers, reading, and something more important, belief. You are smart, she told them often. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And Hannah still wrote in her notebook. But now, the pages were different. Less business, more thoughts. Questions about love, trust, and whether walking away had been strength or fear, she told herself. She had done the right thing. Nathan belonged to a world that would never fully accept her. and she was tired of fighting. Still, sometimes, when she closed her eyes, she saw him standing in that boardroom, defending her in front of everyone. And her heart ached. Nathan found her. By accident? Or maybe fate was tired of waiting. He had been driving without direction, away from glass buildings and clean streets. He stopped near a small community center because he heard laughter. Children's laughter. It reminded him of something human. He stepped out of the car, through an open door. He saw her. Hannah stood at the front of a small classroom, holding her piece of chalk. Her sleeves were rolled up. Her hair was tied back loosely. She was smiling, not the careful smile she wore at Pierce Globa, but a real one. Nathan's breath caught. She looked free. He stayed outside, watching silently. He watched how the children listened to her, how she knelt to their level, how she praised them for small victories. In that moment, Nathan understood something painful and beautiful at the same time. Hannah had not needed him to rise. She had risen on her own. When class ended, children ran past him, shouting goodbye to their teacher. Hannah stepped out. Lastan froze when she saw him. For a long second, neither of them spoke. The city noise faded. "Nathan," she said finally, her voice calm but surprised. "Hannah," he replied. There was no anger in her eyes, no fear, just distance. "I didn't know you were here," she said. "I didn't know either," Nathan answered honestly. They stood there awkwardly, two people who had shared something deep but unfinished. "Would you like to walk?" Nathan asked. "Carefully, if you are okay with that." Hannah hesitated. Then she nodded. They walked slowly, side by side. No touching. No rushing. Just quiet steps. "You look different," Nathan said. "So do you," Hannah replied. He smiled faintly. "I deserved that." They stopped near a small park. Nathan took a deep breath. "I'm not here to ask you to come back," he said. "I'm here to apologize. Properly, without power, without pressure." Hannah listened. "I thought protecting you meant controlling the situation," Nathan continued. "But all I did was prove the world right, that people like me decide what people like you can handle." Hannah's eyes softened, but she said nothing. "I lost you because I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid of losing everything I built, and when I chose safety over love, I realized something too late." He looked at her. "Without you, none of it matters." Hannah felt tears rise, but she held them back. "I didn't leave because I was weak," she said quietly. "I left because I finally loved myself enough not to beg for space in someone else's world." Nathan nodded. "I know." Silence wrapped around them. "I don't want to pull you back into my life," he said. "I want to step into yours if you'll let me." Slowly, as an equal, Hannah looked at him for a long time. "You can't save me," she said. "I don't want to," Nathan replied. "I want to walk with you." That was the moment Hannah broke. She cried, not loudly, not dramatically, but honestly. Nathan didn't touch her. He waited. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady. "I don't want to be a secret, or a headline, or a risk." "You won't be," Nathan said. "You'll be a choice." Mine. Weeks passed. Nathan made changes, not announcements. He stepped back from daily control at Pierce Global. He created scholarships, anonymous ones. He built programs for people whose talent had been ignored. Hannah continued teaching. Nathan visited, often, not as the CEO, as Nathan. They talked, they argued, they laughed, they healed. Love grew again, but this time, it was calm, strong, patient. One evening, Hannah showed him her notebook. "These are my ideas," she said. "Not for your company, for the future." Nathan smiled. "The world will listen when you're ready. And if I never go back," she'll ask, "then I'll still be here," he answered. That was love. 1 year later, a quiet article appeared online. Former CEO launches education initiative with unknown founder. The founder's name was Hannah Moore. She stood on a small stage, nervous but proud. Nathan sat in the audience, clapping the loudest. She had not become rich. She had become respected. After the event, she found Nathan waiting. "You never told them who I was to you," she said. "They didn't need to know," he replied. "This story is yours." She smiled. And for the first time, she reached for his hand. That night, they stood on a rooftop, city lights glowing below. "Do you ever regret it?" Hannah asked. "Losing control?" Nathan looked at her. "I didn't lose control," he said. "I found meaning." Hannah rested her head on his shoulder. Two people. Two worlds. One choice. Love without fear. And this time, nothing stood between them.